back to Book March Madness. My name is Leigh and I will be your ref for this competition. So far you have been introduced to the classics bracket, the mystery thriller bracket, and the romance bracket, and today is all about the fantasy sci-fi bracket. I'm really excited for this one. Fantasy is my favorite genre. Some of the best books I've ever read have come from this genre, and I'm really excited. I'm not as well versed in sci-fi, so I relied heavily on the reviews of others for these particular books. Just a reminder, like every other bracket video, we have 8 champion titles going up against 8 rookie releases. The champion titles are selected from a variety of lists, and the rookie titles are selected based on how they did in the Goodreads Awards from 2019 and 2020. So without further ado, let's meet the champions of the fantasy sci-fi bracket. Out of the champion titles, I have read several, not all of them, but quite a few, and this particular genre, along with the classics genre, are the ones that I am most well versed in. I've definitely read more of the classics than I have the titles in this particular bracket, mostly because the type of fantasy I read is a little different, but all of these titles are exceptional, all of their authors are incredible, and I'm really excited to introduce you to them. So let's get going. First, we have what I would consider to be the Jane Austen of the fantasy world. The all-around exceptional heavy hitter, and that is C.S. Lewis. Now, I did not know this, but C.S. Lewis has written, I believe, 2, maybe just the one, sci-fi novels along with his typical fantasy writing, and it wasn't until I did a massive jigsaw puzzle full of pictures of all of the different cover editions of his books that I realized that he had a sci-fi book called Out of the Silent Planet. I'd never heard of this book before, and so I was really excited to look up the summary and see what it was about, and I'm wondering if his, for me, less well-known work will do as well as some of the other popular champion books. If I had C.S. Lewis in here, then I had to include some J.R.R. Tolkien, and where better to go than with The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. It is I think, probably like most well-known of all of his books, all of the movies. It's just the one that everyone thinks of when they think of the Lord of the Rings series. Next, we included some Kurt Vonnegut because the man is also really good at writing sort of sci-fi fantasy in that genre, the epic adventure, and so we have Cat's Cradle. I actually have, right here on my shelf, Slaughterhouse-5. It's part of my, I believe, Blow My Mind reading challenge, which will happen later in the year. So he's on my TBR anyway, regardless of this competition, but he's an author that I have not read a lot of, so I'm excited to see how he does. Again, I didn't know that C.S. Lewis wrote a sci-fi book, but I did know that he wrote The Chronicles of Narnia. This is hands down one of my all-time favorite book series. It's on my favorites shelf up there. I listened to the entirety of the radio theater production. This is just one of my all-time favorites, and I remember the first time that I saw the trailer for Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe. I was in theaters for another movie and I was blown away. I was so excited, so supremely excited. I have to like mentally prepare myself to reread these books because it just takes such an emotional toll on my heart when I read these, because they were such iconic stories for me growing up. They really fostered my appreciation for the fantastical and magic and iconic characters. I could go on. Next, we have The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I have not read this one, but I know a lot of people really enjoy it. Murphy Napier, if you've ever seen her on BookTube, I'm subscribed to her channel. She's great. You should go check her out. I really love her Dear Authors series, where she addresses really stereotypical tropes and cliches and themes in writing, and it's really great. She's really funny, and she also has great book recommendations. But I hear about this book most often from her because it is one of her favorites. And I've heard that it's gotten great reviews, and so I'm excited to see this in the competition. Next, we have to have another one of like the big sci-fi books, and that is 1984 by George Orwell. I also have another Orwell title on my TBR, and that is Animal Farm, later on in the, I want to say, I think it's Around the World in 325 Days, either that or Blow My Mind. Anyway, I got a lot of him coming up this year. But this is like the quintessential. When I think of sci-fi or like dark fantasy fiction, this is what I think of. This type of vain dystopian, genre where Big Brother is watching and it's an altered state of what the future of the world would be. And I mean, I would put it into things like, you know, War of the Worlds, Brave New World, that kind of thing. It is an iconic story, and it opened the door for a lot of authors to stake their claim in the dystopian genre, and so I'm excited to see how it does. Next, we have another one that I have not read, but I have heard of. I know that it's a sort of beloved classic of the sci-fi fantasy genre, and that is Dune by Frank Herbert. Again, I don't really know what it's about. I'm assuming based on the cover that it has something to do with space. We love to see it. Next, we have another title that I have not read before, and that is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I know this author is much beloved, and this series gets a lot of rave reviews, but I've never read it, like I said, but I picked it specifically from the list because he has been sort of heralded as a Tolkien contemporary, and none of the books in the Rookies have really ever measured up to that in terms of reviews. I've never seen anybody talk like that about any of the books in the Rookie bracket. Not that they aren't great, but there's nothing to that level. But he has been complimented as being a contemporary of Tolkien, and so I felt like we needed to honor that sort of second wave of authors that follow in the footsteps of those people and see, you know, whether the content can match up in the long run. Next, we have the Rookies, and again, much like I'm fairly certain all of the other brackets, I have not read any of these, but I have heard so much about all of them. They are so well talked about, mostly because they're, you know, pop culture, they're trending a lot right now, but a lot of them have huge cult followings at the moment over the past couple years, and so without further ado, let's meet the Rookies. First, we have Harrow the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. This is probably one of the ones that I have heard the least about. I know that it is something to do with the afterworld. There's a lot of bones involved. I mean, it's pretty evident on the cover. And I think it has to do something with like an army of the dead, if I'm remembering correctly. Again, for the sake of being surprised in this competition, I don't research the Rookies a whole lot because they are based on votes. But I know that a lot of people like this one, and I'm excited to see how it does. Next, we have The Impetus, that is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. The woman is killing it right now. She's crushing it. Everyone is obsessed with her. From what I have heard, her writing is exceptional. For the most part, most people enjoy her books. The bad reviews, or I should say the not positive reviews I have seen, are few and far between. Massive books, and I have watched so many people read them. This was her most recent, I believe, first installment of another series she's writing. She has like 15 other ones, but this is the one that everyone was raving about. It did exceptionally well on Goodreads, and this is probably going to be the one, if I can make a bold prediction, that will be down very near the end of this competition for this particular bracket, if not the entire thing. I'm kind of calling it that this is probably going to be my maybe down to like the Elite 8, somewhere in there. That's my guess. Next, we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I have read other things by Erin Morgenstern, but I have not read this one. This one sort of has a mixed bag of reviews. A lot of people enjoyed it. Some people didn't. They found it a little dry, and you need a healthy balance. But I mean, it obviously did well because it was rated so highly on Goodreads. I don't know a whole lot about this particular story, but I loved The Night Circus, so I'm excited to see how it does. Next, I would probably say that this is the second most popular title that we have in this rookie bracket, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Again, a huge author right now. This title is everywhere and has been for a long time. So many people are reading it and reviewing it. This one, unlike Crescent City, I have kind of heard, again, sort of mixed reviews about whether people liked it or not. And from this particular plot, it's been described to me, it sounds a lot like, what was the Age of Adeline? Is that what it was? The Blake Lively movie? Very similar, at least in my head. It sounded like a similar concept. But everyone is talking about this book. It was very popular. It was one of the quarantine hits. We love to see it. Next, we have a sci-fi novel. This is the one that I think I know the least about, and that is Dark Age by Pierce Brown. I have never heard of the author, nor have I ever come across this particular title. Creepy snakes. What is it with people and snakes on their covers right now? We saw it with Serpent and Dove. We saw it with Ninth House. With this one, everyone just loves snakes right now. The Slytherins are on a come up. Speaking of Ninth House and snakes on the cover, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Leigh Bardugo is one of my favorites. I like her a lot. She, I think, did an exceptional job with Six of Crows. I had not seen a sort of gritty fantasy novel like that in a long time that I enjoyed. I read both of them. They are so good. Kazan and Nej are my favorite, but we're not talking about them right now. We're talking about, also, but Crooked Kingdom, like House, you need to read it. The ending, though, I hope she writes a third one, and I'm super excited for the TV show coming next month. There's so much happening with her. But this is her sort of dark fantasy novel, and I believe this is a secret society, if I'm remembering correctly. This one is also very popular. I would probably say that Crescent City, Addie, LaRue, and Ninth House are sort of like the top tier of the moment of the fantasy sci-fi genre. Yeah, a lot of people like it. Some people didn't enjoy it, again, but it's still such a big title, and she's such an incredible author that I think she'll hold her own for a while. Next, we have Recursion by Blake Crouch. I believe this has something to do with a pandemic. I'm just saying, what exceptional timing. I think this is falls again more on the sci-fi side of things. I've seen not as many people, but quite a few people pick it up and read it. And from what I can tell, people really like it. Like I said, it wouldn't be on this list if it didn't do well on Goodreads, so obviously someone likes it. Again, sci-fi is not my particular cup of tea, but I know that people really like this book, so we'll see how it does. Again, with stars. Snakes and stars. Stars and snakes. What a theme we've had for the past couple years. This is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Chrisopher Paolini. I've seen this one on many people's shelves, and a few people have reviewed it. Again, I'm assuming it's something to do with outer space. That's my guess. And that's it. That's the end of the fantasy sci-fi bracket. I feel like this one moved really quickly, mostly because I've now got it down to a science. Figures that it would happen when this is the last introduction video. So, starting now, you have 48 hours to suggest a fantasy sci-fi title that you think belongs in this particular bracket. The suggestions expire on March 13th at 8 a.m. So 48 hours. There's a link to a Google form down in the description, or you can go check it out on Leigh Ellen's library on Instagram. Stay tuned, because on Saturday, March 13th, the very day that this Google form expires, we will be having our Selection Sunday on a Saturday, where you will find out where all of these books that you have been introduced to are ranked and seated within their own brackets, which will be going up against which, and which champion will be taking on which rookie, and it's going to be a whole big thing. Plus, you'll be introduced to the participant suggested 4 titles, one for each bracket, that will be going up against the lowest ranked book in each bracket, so that you can be a part of the competition. We'll see if your suggested title makes it in. I'm really excited. Just a reminder that officially on March 16th is when the first round of voting begins. You've still got a little bit of time to make your predictions. If you have a winner that you think will win, shoot me a DM or comment down below on what your predicted winner will be. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to this booktube channel. It really does help me out, and let me know what you guys want to see. As always, a huge thank you to the friends and family who have readily supported me along this journey. It truly means the world to me, and I can't wait to see what's on the next page. So until we meet again, cheers.